Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user Throwaway External. Am I the a-hole for ending a relationship over long showers? I don't think I'm the a-hole, but my aunt and mom got in my head over the holidays and now I'm questioning myself. Until early November, I, 28 female, was in a long-term relationship with Kevin, 30 male. We were together for about 18 months. He was planning to move in with me at the end of November when his lease was up. I own my own place, whereas he had a roommate who was recently engaged, seeming like good timing all around. Kevin was generally a good guy, funny, charming, easygoing. I thought I was in love, but a few weeks before he was supposed to move in, he made a weird offhand comment about my evening shower habits. Now look, I know some people will find this crazy, but it's not as crazy as it seems. I have a glorious steam shower with a comfy bench. I take long-ass steams before bed. Usually 15 minutes to steam, 5 to 10 minutes with the water on and off to shower and wash my hair and another 5 or so for skincare. I'm not hogging the only bathroom or the hot water, and I only do it after everything else is done for the day. Work, chores, sex. Anyway, the comment was that I would have to knock off things like that when I was living with him. Which, why? He said I was wasting time and needed to be more present when I lived with a man. What the F? It's 30 to 40 minutes. I can't have 30 to 40 minutes to myself? This led to a longer argument about the various things about myself and life I would need to change before he would move in. Like, I was doing him a favor letting him live with me rent-free. Many things themselves weren't terrible. Put my various skincare things away rather than leaving them on the shelf. Fair. Don't leave so many shoes in the mudroom. They're on a rack, but whatever. Stop the composting service. He wants to do it. But a few were non-starters. Don't have my brother, 17, and his friends over unsupervised by him. And don't volunteer at a local shelter that houses men. It was wild. He had never shown any indication of being controlling before, so I tried to talk to him about what he was thinking. He just said that moving in meant that I was his and needed to act like it, paraphrasing. I said, then we weren't moving in together as I'm not anyone's, less articulate than that, and asked him to leave. We had another conversation a day or so later, but neither of us budged, so we mutually broke it off. I was sad, but not devastated, mostly completely confused and questioning my ability to see any red flags. There had to be some, right? I thought I made the right choice. My friends think I made the right choice. My baby brother also thinks I made the right choice. He may be influenced by my 3D printer. But my mom and aunt think I made a huge mistake. It's been a solid 2 weeks of you're going to die alone, you're selfish, you have to compromise in relationships, you can't expect him to put up with your single girl schedules and habits. He was such a catch. I feel like my head is going to explode. I thought my mom would at least care that he was cutting off free brother sitting when they travel, but no, she thinks my ex was right that my brother and his friends shouldn't be in the house alone with a single woman at their age. I babysat most of them when they were younger, for Christ's sake. Am I really unreasonable here? I'm driving myself nuts. We are not getting back together, but was I an a-hole? No, OP, you weren't the a-hole. You were doing him a favor. He was going to move into your house, which you own outright, and not pay any rent apparently, not even contributing. What? And this comment that you were now his and you needed to act like it? No. To me, that doesn't sound like a partner or somebody who wants a teammate. It sounds like somebody who wants an accessory. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what your friends or your brother or your mom or your aunt thinks. Do you feel better? Do you feel happy about the decision that you made? I would think so, because you don't have to put up with that idiot. But in the end, that's the bottom line. Are you okay? If you are, then continue to live your life. He might be a great catch in your mom and your aunt's eyes, but he wasn't a good catch for you. So no, OP, I don't think you were the a-hole. I think, well, you have your boundaries, and you stood by them. And that's it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comment. The Pythia of Apollo says, OP, you're going to die alone with your steam shower in your house with social life and good skin? Sign up literally every woman in here complaining about their crappy relationship for that hell, not the a-hole. Party Giraffe 6573 says, not the a-hole. Abusive partners never start off showing their true colors right away. Someone trying to keep you from all men, even family, and from having time alone is ultra controlling. Be glad he didn't move in and that you cut things off before they could escalate more. Miss Nikita Devan says, as someone who is much closer in age to your mother and aunt, I'm 45, they are nutso. Do not listen to them. They are drowning in internalized misogyny and it's tragic. Your ex was able to hide his red flags until now. As soon as he showed them, you got rid of him. Don't doubt yourself. Guys like him are really good at hiding their crap until they think they have the woman locked down. Thank F he showed his true colors before he moved in with you. Good riddance to bad rubbish. There is nothing wrong with your showers. Babysitting your brother. Why does a 17-year-old need a caretaker? Volunteering at a shelter should be a good thing. And the crap about the shoes and skincare is just that crap and utter nonsense. There was no need to compromise on that at all. It was just ways for him to control you. At least you got rid of the wanker and you have learned that your mom, aunt should never be people you go to for relationship advice. Do not doubt yourself. And Dopey responds, to be fair, I don't think my brother needs a babysitter anymore, but he's always come to my house if my mom is gone overnight during her custody time. He'd die before admitting it, but I think he might just be fond of me, and I don't mind if his friends come over to D&D, and now with the 3D printer, they come over every few weeks to play and print models. They clean up after themselves and help with chores. They are good kids. It pissed me off that Kevin was suggesting they were not good or trustworthy kids. And Rude Usual 7543 says, not the a-hole times 1,000. My ex-husband used to casually take a book away from me while I was reading it, throw it across the room and says things like, you're not paying attention to me when you read, or I feel lonely when you read, or I don't know what you're thinking about when you read. One day his mother called when he wasn't around and I had been crying. She asked what was wrong and I told her he'd just thrown a magazine across the room that I was looking at because I wasn't paying enough attention to him. There was complete silence on the phone. Then she sounded broken. She said he was like that as a child. She couldn't read because he would cry and demand her attention. Before she hung up crying, she said, he's always been this way. All I could think was, what kind of monster have I married? But by then it was too late. I got free, but it took years. Listen, you dodged a bullet the size of Alaska. Thank God he showed his true colors before he'd moved in. These people are like ticks, and once they're buried in, it's so hard to get away. I am so relieved for you, and I don't even know you. Ignore your mom and aunt, no matter how hard it is. They are so wrong. Every time you hear something stupid like, well, if X were here, you'd have a date. Go take long steam. You'll be happy, you'll be free, and your skin will be fabulous. Heart. Additional information from OP's comments. My mom and aunt were saying that I ended a relationship because I want to be able to take long showers, which is selfish and wrong. And yes, they're both divorced. Also, the reason he was moving in with me is that he was trying to get himself out of some debt from a failed business. We had talked about that being something important before we got engaged or combined finances. It was only supposed to be for a little while. I was trying to be supportive, but ended up being unwise. I swear I didn't notice the red flags at the time. In retrospect, he did roll his eyes at some of my hobbies or activities, but I thought at the time it was good-natured, like how I make fun of my best friend's shoe hoarding. I love that for her, but also will rib her about it. Apparently, he wasn't good-natured. Also, my dad hated him, which I should talk to him about to see if he saw something I ignored. The community agrees OP is not the a-hole. So now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. A bunch asked me why my dad didn't like the ex and what red flags he saw. I asked, and here's what he said. Fair warning, my dad is great, but he has opinions. I don't agree these are all red flags, but I'm sure Redditors will school me on it. 1. He didn't take a job my dad offered. X lost his business about 6 months ago, which left him with a mountain of debt, and my dad offered him a job in his warehouse to cover expenses while he was looking. X had a job within 6 weeks, so he wasn't unemployed for long, but I think personally, it's fine to take a beat when something big happens in life, but my dad is of the you can rest when your bills are paid and chores are done school. 2. Would sit on the porch on his phone when I was struggling on a hobby project. Again, I don't think this one is fair. Yeah, sometimes it's nice to have someone give you a hand with stuff, but they weren't his projects. 3. Didn't carry in groceries. Now this one I kind of agree with. In retrospect, it was pretty weird that I was lugging the groceries in by myself in 2 or 3 trips. I don't know if my brain ever would have noticed it as a red flag though. And 4, there were other little things around home maintenance. Waited for my brother to shovel the drive, didn't moan, put a whole box in the recycling center without breaking it down, and car maintenance. Didn't put up my wipers before a storm or pump my gas. But it wasn't his house or his car, so I feel like those go in the nice to have but not fair to critique bucket. Sure, my dad would do those things for a neighbor, much less a romantic partner, but that's him. Anyway, those were the things that my dad pointed to, and now some clarifying points from the last post. First, steam showers don't use a ton of water. It's like 2 gallons for the steam for the whole 40 minutes. That's basically 90 seconds of shower for most people. And because it's toasty in there, you only turn on the shower head when you need it to rinse or shave. Second, my mom isn't a boomer, she's 46. She wasn't always like this, but she and my aunt have gone down some rabbit hole the last few years. Third, my brother and his friends, not all boys by the way, will always be welcome in my home, period. If that means I live alone, fine. Finally, do not worry. There is and was no chance I would take him back. He creeped me right out in our last few conversations. I mean, I just cannot comprehend a world in which I would be okay with someone who comes into my life and says, "Hey, I love you, let's build a life together, but you know all those things that make you happy? Yeah, those things suck and you need to change them." If you don't like that I have my brother and his friends over twice a month, then why did you spend 18 months with a woman who loves that? Is extremely sad she only had another year before he's off to college and hopes he moves back after school. If you hate my volunteer work, then why talk about marrying a woman who has volunteered at that place for literally years and who cried on your shoulder about losing a friend to homelessness and self-harm? And yes, if it bugs you so damn much that I take 40 minutes in the bathroom every night and to unwind after life, then why did you spend 18 months sleeping in my effing house, eating my effing food, and watching my effing TV while I was in the shower? I'm a person, not an experienced vending machine. I might worry about whether I handled things wrong or should approach things differently next time, but I'm not staying with someone who feels me taking 40 minutes to myself, absent kids, or extenuating circumstances after a long day at work is a bad thing. If that makes me an a-hole, fine, I'll accept that label. Thank you for making me feel less crazy yesterday. Well, OP, again, absolutely not the a-hole, you made the right choice. Thanks so much for sharing and take care. And now, let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice and it's by user DayNoReddit. My 36 male girlfriend, 32 female and I are moving in together, but we have different ideas about household contributions. Can anyone offer advice on how to resolve this? After about a year and a half of dating, we are moving in together. My suggestion was that we open a joint account and each contribute the same amount each month. We would determine household expenses, rent, bills, groceries, etc., and then each add $500 as a household fund for date nights, vacations, or anything else that isn't a monthly household expense, like furniture or something. Her response was twofold. First, since I make more money, I should contribute more to the monthly expenses. And second, she doesn't want to contribute the extra $500 or any extra amount at all. Her reasoning was, because I have my own expenses. As far as me making more money, if you combine our salaries into a household, I would make about 57% of the income and she would make 43%. So round that to a 60-40 split. I agreed that I could do that. But for our shared additional expenses, I am still paying about 90% of those. While she does occasionally buy dinner or ice cream or something here and there, the vast majority of the time, I am the one who pays for everything. This has extended beyond the simple things. For instance, we recently took a trip back to my home state to visit family for Thanksgiving. I paid 100% of every expense, which I'm happy to do since the trip is to see my family. But this next week, we are taking a trip to her home state to see her family, and I had to buy my own plane ticket, and she is also telling me I need to contribute an additional amount to her family to split the cost of a vacation rental with them. On top of that, she also asked me to start splitting the vet, boarding, and daily expenses for her dog. I have explained to her that equality is important to me in our relationship, and even conceded her preferences about the 60-40 household split. But I do not think it's fair for me to cover 60% of the household, 90% of the fun, and then also pay an additional amount to go on trips with her family when I'm paying 100% of the way with my family. Does anyone have any advice on how to resolve this? Well, Opie, I think you need to have a proper conversation about what equality means to the both of you. I think your take is absolutely fair, 60-40, and she agreed to that, and that should be applied to everything. Trips, the fun fund, all of it. And if she has this weird mindset where she thinks her money is her money and your money is also partly her money, that would give me huge pause about the whole situation. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. Mighty SD69 says, the one advice I have is until you have come to a fairer agreement for both of you, do not move in together. You need to have this issue sorted before you move in together. If you're about to rent, what happens when you get a mortgage in the future? Who is going to end up paying most of that? You? I don't think you have thought this through. Trillium Summer says, I would say the easiest thing is that you have your own expenses too and ask her what she feels is an appropriate budget for joint activities. And I'd say it makes sense to keep an income split on that too. So if she says she can budget $400 a month, you budget $600. If she can only do $200, you do $300. Then anything beyond that budget is either paid for by the inviter or doesn't happen. You might need to come to an agreement on what the joint fund is used for. Q20 says, here's a phrase I wish I had heard 5 years ago not to waste my time. Reality is the facts, not the excellent reasons. Whatever her reasoning is not to contribute equally, the reality is she isn't contributing equally. Here's another one. You get what you tolerate. If you tolerate this and move in with her for the sake of keeping it alive, you'll get more of this and more and more and more and then some more. Opie's edit. Just to clarify the dog thing, I still say her dog, but she now refers to her as our dog, in the sense that if we are starting a life together, the dog is now both of ours. This is actually something I appreciate. I think it shows commitment to a shared future, just as if she had a previous kid. I see it as her sharing the dog with me, which is something that I would want. About her expenses. These are that she pays some of her parents' bills. The phone bill for sure, maybe others, which they absolutely do not need help with considering they recently took a month-long vacation to Europe. And she also pays for her niece and nephew to go to school where her brother lives in South America. She says the dollar goes so much further there and they're so important to her that she pays for their school and will never stop doing so. I admire how much she cares for them and understand that the US dollar would go further there, but it's hard to accept this part of the situation when we are supposed to be starting a life together. Aside from that, she has a small amount of debt she is paying off, under $10,000, and also bought a $75,000 vehicle a year ago, which she failed to factor in the large insurance increase before she purchased it. That's the summation of her expenses. Alright, well, the community has given OP a lot to think about. So now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. We had an all-out fight about money today. I was saving it for after the holidays, and an adjacent fight brought it to head. I was absolutely dumbfounded about some of the things she said to me today. When we were a few months into dating, her old truck broke down. She mentioned during the fight that I should have offered to pay to fix it because
that's what a good boyfriend would do.
She was insulted that I was upset about the fact that she had asked me to contribute to her family vacation. She said that it doesn't matter I have paid for all of our trips to see my family. that I should also cover my own expenses when we see hers. Splitting things 57-43 doesn't work for her because splitting our expenses like that makes us roommates, in her opinion. She said that as a man, I should be the provider and should cover expenses. She didn't specify what would be a fair split, but did say something about a man should buy the house and a woman doesn't pay the bills. We went to a New Year's Eve party with her parents and spent the night at their house. Then yesterday morning, she said something about how it had cost $17 per person to go to the party. I asked what she was talking about, and apparently in her culture, if you go to someone's party at their house, you pay to be there. This was insane to me, but whatever. Then today, during the fight, she mentioned that I should have offered to pay for that. We didn't resolve anything and now we're on a break. I am not budging. I am willing to split our expenses, all of our expenses, 57-43. That would get adjusted based on our jobs or income, but that's the deal I'll accept for now, nothing else. I'm thinking we could at least try a relationship counselor because no person in their right mind would agree with how she sees money in a relationship. Someone said it best in the original post, and it's true. She sees her money as her money and my money as our money. Opie's edit. The thing that people are misconstruing or just plain skipping over is that she does say she will contribute monetarily to the household, but she wants me to fund all or the vast majority of the date nights and vacations. Update 2. After a night of sleep, I'm realizing that what she has been looking for the whole time is a caretaker. What I have been looking for is a partner. We will never be compatible. I will be ending things without any more attempts to salvage. Well, OP, I think you're making the right decision. You guys are not compatible. So here's wishing you the best. Take care, OP, and thanks for sharing. And now let's finish this video with a quick mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge and it's by user Magnus40. Apparently, booking a seat on a train is not a real booking if someone else decides to sit there. I was traveling from Edinburgh to London by train and had a booked window seat with a table. I got on the train to find 4 guys sitting at the table. The one in my seat, that was clearly marked as booked, refused to move as he was with his friends and the train was packed. The ticket collector passed and I asked him to help. He asked the guy to move, but he refused, and somehow that was that. So now what? I asked. You can find another seat, but I have no power to move him. Only the police can move him, and they will not turn up just to move someone out of a seat. There were no seats free in the carriage, and probably not many free on the train, so standing to London was a possibility. I'm going to take a seat in first class. Better surroundings, power sockets, and free tea and coffee. You can't sit there, you don't have a booking. Well, you could call the police to move me, but apparently they won't turn out to move someone out of a seat. I had a lovely trip with power for my laptop and a wide, comfy seat. Well, OP, good for you. Those were the rules, right? You can't forcibly move somebody even if you had booked the seat? Fabulous logic there. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you